shall be brief. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. First of all, Jeff Sessions is, when you look in the dictionary for the word patriot, you'll see Jeff Sessions right there. What a great friend and colleague in the Senate. And you've seen Kelly Ayotte. Jeff Sessions was precisely correct. She is one of those stars of the Senate you're going to hear a great deal more from. And it's not just on national security issues, but other issues as well. Frank Gaffney, I want to thank you and the Center for Security Policy. I hope that all of you here this evening, and particularly those of you who support the Center, with your financial support and your energy, appreciate how important the work of the Center for Security Policy is. Frank and the Center have been of enormous aid to me and to my colleagues during the time I've been in the Senate. And I just hope there's some sense in which I can convey to you how important your work is and how important the work is that Frank and his colleagues do. I also must say that I guess it's in the nature of senators to try to steal the show from the House of Representatives. The main purpose here this evening is to honor Peter King, my friend from the House of Representatives. When Frank Gaffney and I and a few others began the work of try to identify the nature of our real enemy in the terrorism wars, it became clear to me after a while that nobody is better at calling the enemy by its name and calling it out than Peter King. And that's the first object of winning a war, to know your enemy. And Peter, I appreciate it very much. Now, I've already used 1 extra minute, but my assignment tonight from Frank was, could you touch just a little bit on the key areas you've worked on and how you expect those areas to be dealt with in the future? In order to keep it within 3 minutes, I wrote it down, so here it goes. I have focused primarily on 5 areas in the Senate. First, protecting America's sovereignty by opposing entangling treaties and other kinds of international commitments that would prevent us from defending our American interests. A prime example of that is something that Frank and Doug Feith and others who are here this evening supported me on in defeating the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty in 1999. Now, others will need to pick up the mantle on this. We've already begun having some education sessions with folks, because if President Obama is elected, you can rest assured that it will be brought up next year. So I appreciate the interest of colleagues like Jeff Sessions and Kelly Ayotte, Mike Lee, and John Cornyn and others who have agreed to take this issue on should it be brought up in the Senate again. And I also appreciate the leadership of Senator Jim Inhofe in stopping, for now, the law of the sea treaty. It's not dead. Second, missile defense. Thanks to the investments that we've made over the past decade or so, the U.S. today is protected against a very limited kind of long-range ballistic missile strike from countries like Iran and North Korea. But there are other threats. We've got to modernize our national missile defense system to defeat more sophisticated attacks. Our system today is based on technology that was developed at least a couple of decades ago. And I'm confident that senators like Senator Ayotte and Jeff Sessions and Mark Kirk, for example, with whom I spoke 2 days ago, will help lead on this issue. Third, 3 minutes. I'm trying to get through 3 minutes, Frank. You hold the applause there. We have to continue to ensure that Iran does not acquire a nuclear weapon. And I will... Despite the best efforts of the administration to slow us down, we have forced the president to impose some genuinely tough sanctions on Iran, without which pressure we wouldn't even be in the position that we're here today. In any event, I want to, again, I talked to Senator Kirk about this. He'll be one of the leaders on that issue, and practically all of us in the Senate will continue to work, or they will continue to work on it next year. Fourth, the issue of terrorism. I've already mentioned Representative King's leadership on this issue. When we started the Committee on Present Danger, the whole point was communism had been identified in the Cold War as the danger that everyone eventually came to see it as being. We need to identify the real threat here. We need to call it by its name. We need to call it out, as I said, Peter has done. And the radical Islamists need to be stopped. We've done that through and thank you, Frank, for your significant efforts in this regard. We've done that by passing legislation like the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, the Patriot Act, which I had a hand in helping to write. Those are examples of the tools that we need to gain the intelligence that is critical to defeating these Islamists. Those laws cannot be allowed to expire. The Patriot Act recognizes, by the way, that investigators charged with preventing acts of terrorism should have at least the same investigative tools as federal agents charged with targeting mobsters or healthcare fraud. And fifth, the area that Kelly Ayotte mentioned, the strategic nuclear deterrent. For years, we've been working to try to forge a consensus between the Congress and the administrations, and I mean administrations plural, to rebuild our aging nuclear infrastructure and ensure the triad to deliver those weapons if they ever had to be delivered. You know that we're in dire straits when the Washington Post, no less, runs a two-part expose on how decrepit these weapons and our weapon infrastructure have become. The average age of our nuclear weapons is 27 years, well past their design life. And in 5 years, every single scientist that had a role to play in designing and testing nuclear weapons will have retired from the United States government. And I must say, tonight, there are people in this audience who have had significant roles to play in the design and the care of these weapons, and one of them, Dr. Johnny Foster, has been one of the key people to lead the United States effort in this regard. Just the last point here, we made progress toward modernizing our infrastructure, as either Jeff or Kelly said, when we obtained a commitment from the administration to a 10-year funding program that would nominally at least enable us to do the life extension programs necessary on these weapons and to develop the triad that could deliver them. But the administration does not seem intent on keeping all of those commitments, as a result of which the Senate is going to have to keep making the case over and over again to ensure that this key component of our national security deterrence is kept in a state that is safe, secure, and reliable. And I know that we can count on the leadership of senators like Kelly Ayotte, Jeff Sessions, Bob Corker, John Barrasso, and others, and I appreciate their work. There are two challenges I wish I had had more time to work on. One of them involves the protection of our assets in space and the potential development of missile defense capabilities in space. And secondly, to conclude our work on cybersecurity. There is a small chance that we could succeed in developing a good cybersecurity legislation that would work cooperatively with industry in the lame duck session of Congress. I hope that we can achieve that. In addition to cybersecurity, our lame duck defense challenges are the Defense Authorization Bill, reauthorizing FISA, and avoiding sequester. So folks, let's get to it. Thank you very much this evening.